regular meeting of the Clarke County Board of Education would now come to order. Before I ask Ms. Terry McNamara to call the roll, I'd like for everyone to stand and let's applaud her. Thank you very much. After 27 years of calling the roll and many other things that she's done, this is her last board meeting. Congratulations, Ms. McNamara. Okay.
This is it. All right.
Now you may call the roll.
Dr. Spangler?
Here.
Mr. Payne?
Here.
Mrs. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Parks?
Here.
Mrs. Ellis?
Here.
Mr. Worthy?
Here.
Mrs. Williams?
Here.
Mr. Huff?
Here.
Mrs. Thornton?
Here.
All right, thank you. Would you please stand and join us in a moment of silent meditation, and we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Just a note to the board that there are some informational items. You should have your COC SPLOS monthly report, as well as your SPLOS 2, SPLOS 3, and SPLOS 4 reports for October 2013. Early Head Start Policy Council meeting minutes reports. Parent Advisory Board meeting, that will be at ALPS. That would be Mr. Payne. And we usually, they start at 6, but we get on at 6:30. So it's 6:30 at ALPS.
Yes,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lanu. Do we have any amendments to the agenda? Any amendments to the agenda?
I have no amendments.
Okay, I have a motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Dr. Spangler. I have a second by Ms. Williams. All in favor? Thank you very much. Before I move forward here, board members, I want to remind you that you have at your place committee assignments for 2014. I would like to have those back tonight so I can get them in Ms. McNamara's hand before the 20th. And if you want to think about it, you can email it to me, but I'd like to go ahead and get that in place so I can give it to her so she can have it ready, and we'll have that in place for 2014. It's okay if you want to. Anyway, I'll leave that up to you. I'll say that statement. Okay, we're going to move the agenda. The next item is item B, recognition of achievements and awards. Anissa, here. There you are.
Good evening, Mr. President, Mr. Superintendent, and members of the board. I am pleased to recognize many outstanding individuals from the Clarke County School District tonight. Honorees, when I call your name, please come forth, accept your certificate, and shake all of the board members' hands. First, we would like to recognize some state and national agri-science fair winners. 21 Cedar Shoals High School FFA members combined to present 12 research projects in the State Agri-Science Fair at the Georgia FFA State Convention. Cedar Shoals teams had 3 first-place winners, earning them a spot to compete at the National Agri-Science Fair in Louisville, Kentucky in October. Tonight, we will recognize the top winners from the state competition and also commend several of them for national accolades as well. First is Jacob Babendreyer and Caleb Jones, who were first place in senior team for power structure and technology and 4th nationally and received gold status nationally. And they weren't able to be here this evening, but we did want to recognize them. Next, Sam Jones and Dylan Paparello, First place in junior team power, structure, and technology. They received third place nationally as well as gold status. Dylan and Sam constructed a microbial fuel cell to generate electricity from pond water. The fuel cell was made with 2 plastic shoe boxes with a salt bridge and a PVC compression fitting in between. The team was successful in generating small amounts of electricity and, as an added benefit, cleaned the pond water. Excellent work, Cedar Shoals students. Sullivan Hogan, who placed first and 8th nationally, was also unable to be here this evening. And we also have several second place winners from the state level. Haley Arnold was second place in senior team animal science. Congratulations, Haley. Alex Smith and Natalie Stanley were second place also in senior team social science. And third place at the state level was Bria Thompson Carter for food science. And of course, we want to recognize their advisor, Julie Throne.
Congratulations, Heather. Thank you. Okay, Albert. Thank you.
Great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great work, Julie. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next, we will recognize a My Fox Atlanta feature athlete, TJ Ellison from Clarke Central High School. And I will tell you about TJ, and then we will ask him to come up. Clarke Central High School junior TJ Ellison has been recognized by both the Athens Banner-Herald and My Fox Atlanta for being an exceptional student, which is clear both on the football field and in the classroom. And here's some of what My Fox Atlanta had to say about TJ. Clarke Central High School football player TJ Ellison hasn't let life's challenges keep him from fulfilling his dreams. Ellison was born deaf, and he hopes to show others they can do anything they put their minds to, regardless of setbacks. Ellison's coach, Aaron Self, says he's a role model. He says he's taught the entire team to never let any setbacks get in their way. Ellison says he not only plays for himself, but also to show others, just like him, that they can play too. My motto is no matter how hard something is, just remember one thing that helps you get through it, he says. I want to be able to show we are capable no matter what. He hopes to play football in college and eventually become a high school history teacher and football coach. And I also want to read a little blurb from the Athens Banner-Herald that I think also speaks to someone else we're going to recognize along with TJ, which is his interpreter, Lynn Young, who is a constant presence with him. So this is just a blurb from the article. After practice, Lynn Young looked at the 17-year-old gentleman she said has done a major turnaround since starting high school, waiting for him to finish her sentence. Lynn says, "Deaf can do anything except," and Ellison says, "except here." And Ellison has not simply done everything else, he has indeed excelled. And for that, we want to recognize him this evening. And Ms. Young, we'd also like to recognize you for inspiring students and going so far beyond as well. Please come up. We have a certificate for you as well.
Thank you for giving me a job I love.
Thank you.
Well, we love that you love it. So it's a great relationship. Thank you.
Thanks for what you do. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
And finally, this evening, we will recognize our 4-star Employee Awards winners. So I will read about them, and then we will ask them to come up. First is Heather Julian, who is a math teacher at Clarke Central High School, and she was nominated for this award by parent Julie Hinkle. And Ms. Hinkle said, "Ms. Julian is my daughter's 9th grade math teacher. She goes well beyond what teachers are required to do to help students succeed in her class. Parents and students receive frequent texts and emails detailing upcoming assignments and providing links to the work students are assigned. Ms. Julian offers extra help before and after school for students who are struggling, and she is very flexible about helping students correct work when their scores could be improved. She also encourages her students to bring in makeup work until the date they take a unit test. I have been very happy with all of my daughter's teachers at Clarke Central High School so far, but Ms. Julian exemplifies a teacher who does whatever it takes to help her students succeed. The way she encourages students to strive for mastery reinforces positive habits that they can carry into other content areas. Ms. Julian?
Thank you so much. Great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know, sorry.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Great job. Thanks so much.
Congratulations.
And do we also have Karen McDonald from Whit Davis here this evening? I didn't think she would be able to attend. Next, we have Sam Preston, a hearing officer here at the board office, and he was nominated for this award by Tad McMillan, who described himself as Mr. Preston's colleague and friend. I am proud that I work in a district that ensures that the rights of our parents and students are protected. When I have to bring a child to a hearing, I'm never happy about it, but I always leave the hearing no matter what the outcome is, knowing that the child and family have been treated fairly and honestly. That is because of Mr. Sam Preston, our hearing officer. I do not always agree with his decisions, but I know that it is based on his effort to be fair, to be sure that the rights of the student and family are considered, and his reflective consideration of the evidence. I am always impressed with the respectful way he speaks to our students who get into trouble. His focus is always on helping them learn from their mistakes and move forward, despite consequences which might be severe. Mr. Preston is always open to consider options which support both the school and the child. It is an honor to work with him. Mr. Preston?
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Great work. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well deserved.
Appreciate that. Yes, sir. Thank you. This office is great.
Yeah.
We have to rearrange that.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
I agree with everything you said.
Well, thank you so much.
I don't act like it sometimes, but I do.
And finally, Ms. LaWanna Reed, a teacher at Cleveland Road Elementary School. Is Ms. Reed here this evening? Wonderful. And this is what Margaret Morgan, who is a former parent of a child in her class, had to say about Ms. Reed. Ms. Reed is the type of teacher we hope all our children will have. She expertly balances unconditional love with high expectations. She shows love by being present for her students, not only in the classroom, but also in their lives. For example, knowing how important baseball was to my son, she made an effort to come see him play. Because the children know that she cares for them, they will work harder to meet her academic expectations. Watching the children in her second grade class eagerly make arrays and discuss multiplication and the communicative property, it is clear that high-level learning is occurring. Ms. Reed is the kind of teacher you remember for your whole life. Her long-lasting impact on my child is evidenced by his recent writing of a note to her. In the note, he made a punctuation error. At first, as is his nature, he was going to leave it. But then he said out loud to himself, "No, Ms. Reed would be disappointed." Even being out of her class for over a year, she is still influencing him to be the best he can be. Thank you, Ms. Reed.
Thank you.
Very impressive.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's great.
Good work. Congratulations.
And again, on behalf of the Clarke County School District, to all of our honorees, congratulations. You make us proud to be CCSD. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, there you are, Dr. Price.
Yes, we do have one more recognition. At this time, we would like to recognize our Director of Public Relations, Anissa Sullivan Jimenez. And she recently attended the Georgia School Public Relations Association Conference, where she received several awards. And we would like to recognize her at the district level for those awards. These are all state awards that she received. So she received an award, the Gold Award for Marketing Campaign for the Community Partners in Education, and she also received an award for Special Purpose Publication, and that was for the individual school promotional posters. She also received the Silver Award for Excellence in Writing for the Proud to be CCSD column, and also for the activities calendar, the 2012-2013 activities calendar. She received the Best in Category Gold Award for Marketing Campaign, again for the Proud to be CCSD. And she received the highest award given by the Georgia School Public Relations Association. It is a very prestigious award. It is given to only one public relations director in the state, and our own Anissa received this, and this is the Marie Woodford Professional Growth Award. And I know that she was very surprised when she received this award, but it's very well deserved. So congratulations, Anissa. Congratulations.
Thank you for your hard work. Thank you so much.
Awesome. That's a sweet.
Congrats, great work.
We have someone just came in. We're just going to double check. I think we just have a student come in.
They're getting it together, baby.
Yeah.
And another member of the Cedar Shoals High School agriculture team is here from FFA, and that is Bria Thompson Carter, and she received 3rd place at the state level for food science.
Congratulations.
You know, once again, it's every month. This is probably the highlight for sure. Even though I know things are important, but nothing more important than to see the diverse talents of our faculty and staff as we look at winning state and national awards with FFA, to just incredible inspiration about what you can do when you set your mind to it with TJ, to the faculty and staff who really make this all happen together on a daily basis. So just congratulations, and I guess it is proud to be CCSD for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lanu. We have, next on our agenda, we have some speakers for this evening. I'd like to read a statement before I call the first speaker. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. A yellow caution card will appear when 1 minute remains. A red card will appear when time expires. Dr. Spangler is our timekeeper. At this point, please conclude remarks. No speaker shall indulge in personal attacks while speaking. All comments are to be addressed directly to the Board of Education. Personal concerns may be addressed in writing to the superintendent or the president of the Board of Education. Our first speaker for this evening is Penny Jackson, and she's speaking on services for deaf and visually impaired students. Ms. Jackson? Ms. Jackson here?
She may not be here.
Okay, I don't see her. Our next speaker is Liza Jackson, Common Core State Standards. There you are. Thank you.
It's my first time ever speaking in public, so please forgive me. My name is Lisa Jackson. My kids have been enrolled in Clarke County since 2002. My 2 sons attend Clarke Central, and my daughter attends Timothy. Both of my boys have been in the gifted program since kindergarten. Allow me to share how Common Core has affected our family. As very involved parents, we were completely blindsided by Common Core. There was no attempt for anyone to inform parents of what Common Core is and how it would affect children and teachers. My middle son managed only a C in his first year of Common Core math and now fears it will affect his HOPE GPA. After just a few weeks this year, he had a 69 in math. I was told he had two choices. He could move from advanced math to on-level math or attend remediation. Why in the world does a child who has been in gifted since kindergarten suddenly need remediation in the 10th grade? My older son looks at his brother's homework and says, I have no idea what the heck they are doing. My daughter got the new standards last year and she's dropped 30 to 50 points on the CRCT in every subject, just barely passing the math. The tests have not changed in Georgia yet, so if the new standards are supposed to be better and we are still testing the older, supposedly easier standards, wouldn't she have done better, not worse? Her math homework is ridiculous. We cannot figure out what they are trying to do, and there are no textbooks for us to help her. When I address the teachers, I am told to address the board. When I address the board, I either get no response or a bunch of websites for me to retrain myself. They both have suffered a great loss in their confidence to do math, and there have been many tears shed at our kitchen table. If we are affected this harshly, I can only imagine what families of special needs children or kids with little to no support are going through. In closing, our teachers have no voice because they fear losing their jobs if they speak out. But believe me, they do not like this, and we will continue to lose good teachers unless we stop it. The level of preparation expected of teachers and the added overuse of unpredictable technology is making it worse. Analysis has shown the old standards were superior. We should return to them because they are not copyrighted by some private entity, and we already have textbooks for them. We must advocate for our kids by speaking out against federal mandates and privatization, much like you all did during the Amendment 1 debate. Do you remember no taxation without representation? If you want to see what full implementation is going to do to our schools, teachers, and children, one only needs to look at the current situation in places like New York, North Carolina, and Illinois. I know that as a local board, you have little control over the mandates being piped down from the state and federal level, but I plead with all of you to look further into Common Core and take a stand for our amazing teachers and students. As touted by our website, Clarke County is a shining star in spite of our poverty statistics. Common Core and high-stakes testings will change that for the worse, not the better, leaving the brightest broken and the achievement gap much, much wider. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Next, we have Dr. Tommy Farmer, textbooks.
Mr. Worthy, Dr. Lano, members of the board, thank you and good evening. It was my intention to share with you the challenges that my students and I face as we go over work after school hours because of the lack of textbooks. But this evening I have chosen to go a different route, and that is to leave with you questions that I feel the students, parents, educators, and community deserve an answer to. And the questions are: what is the Clarke County School District policy on the purchase and distribution of core textbooks to all of the students? If there is a policy, is this a district-wide policy? Or does each school have its own policies and rules to purchase and distribute textbooks? Is it the decision of the principals and teachers as to whether they're going to purchase or distribute textbooks? Or is this a directive from the superintendent and the Board of Education not to issue textbooks? Do you have textbooks for all students? If you do have textbooks, why aren't they issued? If you don't have textbooks, why don't you have textbooks? And the final and most important question is, when will our students receive textbooks, reading, math, and language to use in school and at home? When I last spoke to you, I left a question: are we truly doing whatever it takes to address the needs of our students? Tonight, I leave with you: would you like to be denied textbooks if you were a student in the Clarke County School District. So, in closing the statement, I would like to leave with you. I am going to appeal to your moral conscience to do what is best for all of the students in this district. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Farmer. And our last speaker for this evening is Ms. Lee Smith, Students and Textbooks. Okay, there you are.
Good evening, Mr. Worthy, to Dr. Lanou. My name is Lee Smith and the other board members. My name is Lee Smith, and I have been an Athens resident for the past 35 years. And during that 35-year span of time, I have been involved in student education here in Clarke County in various ways, including co-founder of the education program called Creative Visions Foundation. And Creative Vision Foundation was a program that provided educational and enrichment activities to students in the Clarke County area for over 15 years. Presently, I'm a member of the NAACP and I serve on the Education Committee. I have a strong interest in the education of Clarke County students. I'm here this evening to address the fact that Clarke County students are not allowed to bring home textbooks. I feel that this is a disservice to the academic success of many students who, without books, may not be able to review the academic activities that they went through during the day or upcoming academic assignments. I feel very strongly that books aid family members and other adults in the community that may be willing to help students with their academic assignments, and the book certainly serves as a guide to the students and the folk that would be willing to help them in their academic endeavor. Certainly, you would agree that a large portion of learning takes place outside of the classroom, and so it is very important that students have full access to textbooks. I realize that technology is used to enhance the academic process, and so it should. However, a large segment of our students do not have access to technology, and this certainly puts them at a disadvantage. It is difficult, actually, for me to imagine students in and out of school every day without books. I don't know what kind of message this is sending to the students or the parents. I think that books in hand help students to seal the notion that their academic day is not complete when they leave the classroom. So I am here tonight to ask you to please consider having students have textbooks to take home with them so that they will have greater success in their academic endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the three speakers that spoke this evening. Points of concerns are very interesting, very well received. Thank you very much. And we're going to move the agenda. We're down to the superintendent's report. Dr. Lanou.
Well, let me just a couple of items. First, Board Member Hoff wanted to talk a bit about work sessions and topics for work sessions.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Lanou. So, board members, what we'd like is to solicit topics from you all, not tonight, not right this second, but items that you would like to go over and learn more about and get more understanding about for work sessions. I've noticed some comments here and there about, well, certain processes that may not be clear or something like that. This is the time, if we could send some emails, I'd suggest you send them to myself and Dr. Lanou, and then we can put these together, and just Mr. Worthy as well. But but we're just sort of trying to collect some of these things up so that items that we'd like more clarity, more understanding on, we can direct some of these work sessions, maybe even training sessions, but principally work sessions to address these. Thank you.
I would just concur too. I think as we develop topics, remember we set up those work sessions to have a discussion or presentation. I think an opportunity for board members to be able to ensure that input or guide that process, because it really is for the board to be able to tease out those kinds of questions or topics, which in previous settings we really just weren't able to do in that setting. So, okay.
Yep.
And I'd also, my piece is about orientation, and we haven't done a great job with new board members in our orientation, so I want to try to kind of go back and reassemble some things. And so I'd like to know if there's an interest. What we had done the last time was to meet with each one of the divisions, at least at central office, with their individuals, if they wanted to, at least from our end, start with knowing how central office, or if there are other items. But I'm at least willing, and even board members who have been here aren't sure what roles and responsibilities. I would certainly offer that we could have sessions and we could put together in each one of our divisions or something else, or if you have thoughts on how we can support not just new members, but board members who have been here who might want information. So I'm not sure how to handle that, but maybe think about that, send some emails and just share with everyone. But I think there certainly would be a need if you saw, we could certainly put together to talk about at least the divisions and the construct that we're working from. And it would at least create some common vocabulary to work from, which sometimes we get mired in our own jargon and a lot of things. So I'll throw that out to the board. Just announcement this morning, it certainly talked about our graduation rates. And I want to thank Lee. Certainly, it was a really good article in terms of information. But with that said, we do have a lot of work to do, and it's one of those constants that we have to work on. It's not going to come easy, but it's one at a time. But I'm real pleased with our progress and our subgroups. But I'm also cognizant that we've got a lot of work to do. But please know, to get where we are today is a lot of work by a lot of people. To begin to make the gains we have. So I simply want to, it's not about high school, this is about K-12, and I want to thank all the teachers and parents and students for their work. And I'm real pleased that those that didn't graduate in the 4-year, that we have well over 60 students that are back at it, either needing a test or a couple classes. And we hope that they will get their diploma and add that to our numbers, because when we look at it, the 4-year means they graduated in 13. The 2012 5-year means they went 2013 for their 5th year. And for us, we have some students, they're just things that get in your way. If you do it in 5 years, if you did it in 6 years, if you kind of drop out and came back, it doesn't matter. But we're going to go back and capture our children and young adults and make sure they get a diploma. Right. So that was my big announcement for today. Yeah. The next is setting up as a presentation. Thought it would be appropriate because it enters into an area that we don't talk about. We talk about bus safety in generalities. We talk about bus stops, but we don't really talk that much about what happens when children go from the sidewalk to the bus, to when that bus door opens and they go back to the sidewalks. And we don't pay attention until we see some catastrophic event, unfortunately, where it impacts a child because someone is going through a bus stop arm. And many would think that would be just a given in our society, that when you see that arm come out, I mean, we've got lots of devices now. Things blink and lights go out and flash. I mean, it's not like you can't see it. But I can't tell you how many times, and we track that cars went by buses with that arm out here in Athens on a regular basis. So what we've done, we've entered in a partnership, and this has been before, about putting together a system where we're going to find out who goes by and notify them and take action that you can't do that and put our kids at risk. And there's fines to that, and we talked about that. But I want to be clear, this is not about Clarke County getting money, because we're not getting any money. It is about Clarke County and Athens Police Department joining together and say, we've got to figure out a way to get people to recognize you can't go buy flashing lights on a bus. You will hurt our children. And so we're going to talk about, we're going to have a presentation tonight of what that looks like. And that presentation is for all of us to take notice, because if we see those buses, it's got to mentally click, we've got to stop. And if so other people are watching, I didn't want this to be a surprise, because it could be when it goes into effect, because I think we'd be quite surprised at how many cars actually go by buses. So with that, you're on.
Thank you very much. My name is John McCall. I'm the Senior Account Manager and Program Manager for American Traffic Solutions here in Georgia. I live in the Atlanta area part of the time and have a home near Savannah too. So I'm in the area, I'm local. And I'm here tonight to give a brief overview of the program, a little bit about our company. You touched on some great points, and some of those we'll discuss in a little bit more detail here tonight. Forgive my voice, I'm fighting one of those winter colds.
I think we all are.
I feel like,
Need some water?
and I sound like I'm in a tunnel. I know I'm not, but it sounds like it.
Want some water?
Oh, thanks. These are just some of the topics we're going to go over, why we're here, a little bit about our company, defining the problem. It is a big problem. Unfortunately, Georgia is known, leads the nation for fatalities related to school bus stop deaths. And that's, a lot of people don't realize how big of a problem it is. But that's certainly something that, as a Georgian, I'm not proud of being known for, but that is a fact. And it's a big problem. I'll give you some statistics on that too. We're going to talk a little bit about the program, an overview. I won't go into great detail, but I hope that I give you enough that you understand basically how the program works. And feel free to ask any questions. I'll certainly do my best to answer them, and if I don't have the answers for them, I'll get them for you. Questions, next steps, public awareness, then some questions and answers if you have any. We're here to assist Clarke County improving the safety for the kids. That's really what it boils down to. I mean, American Traffic Solutions is a private company, but what we're really about is bringing awareness to the problem. The law, a lot of people really don't understand the law. They don't really understand what their responsibility is when they're meeting a school bus that's stopping. And those that do are so caught up in their everyday life and thinking about whatever they're thinking about and getting to where they're wanting to go in such a hurry that they're oblivious to it. So there are two important things here to consider. One is to bring awareness to the law and bring awareness to the public. When they do see a school bus stopping, they understand the importance of obeying the law and watching out for the children. And this program is based on public awareness and getting the message across to those that the public awareness doesn't work on with a fine. And typically that works. So I'll move forward. A little bit about our company. We're based in just outside of Phoenix, Arizona, in Tempe. We have regional offices throughout the United States. We're the largest provider of safety cameras, photo enforcement safety cameras in America. We issue over 1.4 million violations per month, over 3,500 cameras installed throughout the country, just over 700 employees, over 250 state and local government customers, have over 25 years of management experience in this business. We're the vendor of choice for a lot of the large photo enforcement programs in the country, and we're the largest provider in Georgia. I actually pioneered the school bus stop line camera program here in Georgia. We were the first company to get a program up and running. It's a relatively new, a little bit about that, it's a relatively new program. And any time you develop a new program, you have some learning curves to go through and some mistakes to make. And we made a few to begin with, but we've really refined the program. We've got a total of 8 school systems up and running now, from a school system as large as Cobb County to as small as Houston County. So it's a program that can fit any size school system, any number of buses in a fleet. It's something that we've really refined to the point that, I mean, we're continuing to improve. We're looking for improvements all the time, but the program is really doing well now. There are 2 counties, school systems that we're working with now, Athens, Clarke County, and Douglas County. We're about to bring both online in the next few weeks, and hopefully right after the first of the year. A few of the school systems that we do business with: Cobb is one of the largest, Marietta City Schools, Newton County, Muskogee County, Carroll County, Carrollton City Schools, Houston County that I mentioned. There's 8 total that's online now. We've been awarded contracts, the city schools in Atlanta and Decatur, and we're working on several others right now. So the program is really taken off in the last 2 years. And awareness about the program, there's a lot of demand. People see its impact in the communities that the program's working in, and we expect it to continue to grow. We talked about this. Here's a staggering figure. We had a survey done in Georgia last year, and there were over 12,000 participating buses in the survey, and there were over half of those buses recorded illegal passing violations when the school buses were stopped. I mean, it's staggering, really, when you look at it. A few other statistics that I find interesting, and I don't have these memorized, so I'm going to have to read them. It's estimated that 13 million illegal passes occur across the country each year. A survey recorded nearly 112,000 buses in 28 states, and they recorded more than 76,000 illegal stop-arm passing incidents in a single day. So, I mean, the problem is there, and it's certainly proven by the surveys that have been done. This is a video. This is what a school bus driver sees typically when someone runs a school bus stop. Close call. I mean, that happens a lot more than we know. A little bit about the law. There was legislation passed several years ago supporting this program, and here are the fines associated with it. First offense is $300. Second offense is $750. Third offense is $1,000. So it's pretty stiff fines. Now, I know in some jurisdictions, some law enforcement jurisdictions, that fine on the first offense can be upwards of $600. I think that fine's set by jurisdiction or municipality or whatever, but in some jurisdictions it's more, but I'm not sure what it is here. But the $300, I think, should get someone's attention. It's a civil penalty, so there are no points or no reporting to insurance companies, and typically the cases, if the violator wants to argue the violation, depending on what court has jurisdiction, could be a state court, probate court, municipal court. It just depends on if it's a county or city or how it's set up. The citation process, every citation by law has to be reviewed by a law enforcement officer, and we'll get into that in a moment, but that's an important part of it. You don't have someone from the school system reviewing it or anyone else associated with the program. but you have a certified law enforcement officer that's actually accepting it or rejecting it as a violation. Move on. What we like to call the triangle of safety. It takes the community to come together. You have to have all the parts of government cooperating to do this: the school system, the county government, including law enforcement, and the courts. And then you have to have a vendor with the technology and that's willing to continue to support the program throughout the life of the program. So there are a lot of moving parts here that have to come together, and from the school system to law enforcement to courts here within the county to the finance departments and everyone cooperating together to make the program work. The program is violator funded. There's no school bus driver interaction, which is important. It doesn't take the attention of what the school bus driver should be doing away from him. He can concentrate on that, and he doesn't have to worry about pushing any buttons or, flipping a switch or anything. The system automatically records the incident without any interaction from the driver. It's proven technology. The review time for law enforcement is very quick, and we'll get into that in a moment. Public awareness campaign, that's probably one of the most important parts of this, because in order for the program to truly be effective, I think the public needs to be aware of what they're doing. And this really brings it to light through the media, through public service announcements, through social media. We're involved in all that as part of this program for the county and for the school system. And it's an end-to-end solution, from the equipment to installing the equipment, maintaining it, keeping it running, to mailing the citations out to the violators, and handling all the payment options and all as well. So it's an end-to-end solution for the county and for the school system. The cameras on the bus, I don't know that this is of any interest to you, but there are several. There's a violation detection camera, a license plate camera, and a stop arm camera that takes pictures of the license plates and side view photos of the vehicle passing, as well as a video. And we will talk about that. We don't need to get into all that, but this is really basically the system will get the car, whether it's meeting the school bus and passing the stop arm as it's been activated, or if it comes around the school bus going in the same direction that the school bus is going. So it's going to get the car either way, and it has the capability of going over 4 lanes. So end-to-end solution, I've mentioned that. Violation capture. Once the violations are captured, they're wirelessly transferred to our data center. And in our back office review, we actually, these cameras are running all the time. So if the school bus is stopped and the stop arm comes out and a pedestrian rides by on a bicycle on the sidewalk, it's going to get that pedestrian. Okay, but our reviewers, based on business rules that we set, actually goes through and they will throw that out, because they don't want the police officer taking the time to go through things like that. So by the time it gets to law enforcement, they're valid events that the law enforcement officer can make a decision on. I mean, it's not going to be a dog walking by or a pedestrian on a bicycle or anything like that. So that's really what our back office review is about. And that saves a lot of time during the review process for law enforcement. Law enforcement approval, citations issued, we print the citations, mail them out, so that's not anything that the school system or county has to worry about. We offer payment support through a live person that the violator can call if they have questions, or we have a website called violationinfo.com that they can actually log on to, and using a PIN number that's printed on the violation, and pull the violation up and actually watch the video. They can watch themselves running the bus stop camera. So, and they can actually, on that website, they can actually pay the ticket too. And then court support. We offer court support through scheduling hearings, hearing docket, as well as evidence packages that the prosecutors and the judge can view in the courtroom. This is an example of what the law enforcement officer sees. The big image there is the video. The information, the photos up at the top are 3 different shots of the vehicle as it's passing. A front view, a view of the back of the car, and then an up-close view of the license plate. Down at the bottom, this registration information, tag information, and we already populate those fields for law enforcement. So all they have to do is look at it and verify it. So it takes about 30 seconds, depending on the speed of the internet connection, but typically about 30 seconds to review it. Just a sample notice. We send them out first class mail. The PIN is on it so that the violator can go on violationinfo.com and review the video and the photos and payment instructions. There's also there'll also be an affidavit, possibly an affidavit attached to this. We haven't finished the business rules yet, but the law does allow for transfer of liability through an affidavit. And if the law enforcement here does not decide to put an affidavit with the violation that's mailed out, there's instructions where they can print one off and access one to transfer liability. Payment processing, they can pay, as I mentioned, on the web. All the payments go into a lockbox, and then they're swept out to whoever's receiving the funds weekly. They can pay by phone, or they can do a MoneyGram. This is an example of a court docket, or this might be violation packages, evidence packages. Yeah, this is just an example of the system that can be accessed by law enforcement or by the courts, by the prosecutor, the solicitor, whoever's using that in court, and they can access that information if someone's arguing the violation as evidence in court. We mentioned public awareness. We do press releases, public service announcements, community outreach materials. I put a brochure at your desk. We'll be doing things like this, putting these brochures together specifically for Athens, Clarke County. And it's you can have these here at the board. You can have them in the lobby of the schools, wherever you choose to do it. To put them, but it's really, again, it's bringing awareness to the law so that people realize that, you know, when the school bus is stopped, they're thinking about it, you know, they hear about it, or they had a violation, so it's had an impact on them. You know, the cost of not enforcing, you know, we don't know what that is. You know, hopefully no child would ever, we never have a fatality here in Athens. But, you know, it's happened in Georgia quite a bit, and I really feel like I've seen it make a difference in communities since I've been involved with the company. And just by looking at the numbers in these programs, one thing that I look at when I do quarterly and yearly reports is I look at the percentage of repeat violators. And typically it's very, very low. Typically less than 1%. And that tells me, for example, in Cobb County, you know, they're getting 1,400, 1,500 violations mailed out a month. And their repeat violators are less than 2%, the last time I looked. So it is having an impact. And I think even if it doesn't get everybody, if you're getting 1,400 or 1,500 people a month, that can make a difference. That can save a life. So, this is just a PSA. It's a video that we've done. I think that's Jackie Coffey from Carroll County. She's the transportation director in Coffey County. We'll send a video crew out if we hadn't already. Have we done that?
did. The video
That's
crew's
right.
been here.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Kathy has experienced that already. She's a celebrity now. We have a film crew that comes out, and they're very professional and do a good job. Have you seen the final?
No, they said probably another week.
Brochures, social media, outreach, collateral for local businesses like menu placemats for restaurants. We've done those kind of things before. So we'll try to get as creative as we can in any of these areas. Another example of a brochure that we've done. One thing we're doing in the Atlanta area, we're putting together the Cobb County and the city schools in Marietta are going to use together as a mascot. I think it's going to be a hawk. I don't know why we chose a hawk, but it's this big mascot that we're buying, and I don't know what all they're going to do with it. Probably make me wear it. But so we're you know, if it's justified, if we can justify it, we'll do it if it helps public awareness. But maybe we can get that hawk over here in Athens sometime too. Any questions? Answers?
Yes. I have two. How long does it take to, after a violator is past the school bus, that they get a bill? Or get a notice to pay the bill?
Right. By law, the violation has to be postmarked within 10 days.
Within 10 days.
Right. So if that event happens today and it's reviewed and we process it and it's reviewed tomorrow by law enforcement, typically it's about a 2-day period after that we get it in the mail.
All right. You said public awareness. Is there a possibility? I know the school doesn't have anything to do with one way or the other, but can we publish those people a picture in the paper? I'm not talking about
let me, Mr. Payne, just for clarity, what we're trying to do with our role. Our role is simply to have the cameras on the bus. Our role is to make sure that they're turned on. And our goal is for safety. Everything else goes out to the police department. You know? But so I'm just saying, we're not gonna, for us, and I just wanna do it, we're not collecting any money, we're not gonna process anything. That's all going to the police department.
No, I
I just,
I heard that at the beginning. I was asking this gentleman, is there a way that whoever is collecting the money, that they can pay the newspaper, put the picture in the paper? I'm not talking about school district.
okay, thank you, Mr. Payne.
No.
I think there'll be some legal issues there. You probably want to discuss that with your legal counsel, but I don't think we're going to go there as a company. I think there's
well,
yeah. I understand what you're saying. That'd be nice, but
I have a question.
sure.
I'm looking at item 7 here. If the law enforcement approve the violation, a citation is issued and mailed to the vehicle owner. My question is this: now, with these videos, and I do know this to be true with technology where they have at red lights. You run that red light, you get that citation in the mail. Okay. And my question is this: points would come off the license. I'm asking would points come off the license for this citation?
No, sir.
Same thing, okay.
Right.
So it's the same as when running a red light.
Right, and that's in the law.
Yeah.
It's not
Can't do
reported
that.
to the insurance companies,
Okay.
and there's no points involved.
And that's because of the use of the technology?
Yeah, I guess so. I think historically, these photo enforcement violations have been treated as civil penalties, and I think that's probably the reason.
And I'm thinking with the fatalities now, a person would drive by a school bus, hit a kid, and the kid is hurt or killed or whatever. automatically the law enforcement is gonna handle that.
I'm sure if that happened, there would be an investigation. And I'm sure if there was a fatality or an incident where there was an injury involved, I'm sure law enforcement would get involved.
Okay.
And we would probably have video of it.
Over here.
Go ahead, Ms. Miller.
I remember when, who was it? Was it Jackie Lumpkin that came and spoke to us about this?
It did.
And so, so we're part, and I noticed on the brochure that we are, one of the, counties represented. So I can't remember how long that's been, but you gave some generic data of the success of this. Is there any direct data, for Athens, Clarke County, as far as how many people have been stopped or paid fined, or how much, oh yeah, even the fines? Is there any data directed straight for, specifically for Athens?
How many citations have been issued by law enforcement over a specific period of time? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
I'm sure that that's been looked at. I don't have that information. I'm not sure if the schools had access to it or not, but I can assure you the problem, it's here. I mean, it's happening here, daily.
I know we did a survey with all of our drivers last year in May, and in one day we had 360-something violations that could have been warranted as a violation.
And I do recall some years ago, having been around such a long time, I was a kid that was killed on the Commerce Highway.
Right.
And I don't recall everything about it. I know Mr. Benton, he can tell us about it because he handled that situation,
Right.
but it was a big, big lawsuit. And it was a bad situation. And I can tell you, I'm for this because I have seen cars drive right by school buses. I've seen it right out there on Tallahassee Road.
I have too. I was in, we're working with the city schools in Decatur, and their board office, it's a small school system, but their board office is right on a 4-lane highway. And it's an old school system that's been converted into their office. And we were standing out there after a meeting, right out in front of the school, and there's a bus stop just within, you can see it within, seeing distance from the school. And I mean, we witnessed it every time that bus stopped. And they said they saw it every day. There's cars just zooming by it as it stopped, right there in front of the board office. So it is a problem, and really people, I don't think they want to hurt anyone. I just think it's awareness of the law, awareness of there are school buses stopping, the lights are on, and kids are getting out, and I could hurt a child if I didn't do the right thing. So that's the value of this program. One of the best things about it is bringing awareness. People are just aware that hey, a school bus is stopping and I need to obey the law. If everyone does that, then the kids will be safe.
Well, I understood what Mr. Payne was saying about the picture, so I'm not going in that direction. But I do think the information in your response to my question about how many I do think that if we're getting those reports, maybe not every month, but those kind of reports that are seen on our board television program of the board meeting, it's another way of a public campaign. If people know that this is going on, I'm surprised that, I am personally surprised that people do run the arm. I'm totally shocked about that. And probably a lot of other people too, but to have those many in that length of time, and if we're getting those kind of reports that are part of the superintendent's report, it is another way of public awareness that this is a problem and it's a positive way we can address it.
Do a
Absolutely.
superintendent's report, possibly a quarterly.
Yeah.
Asked to do an update, we could do that.
Sure. Yeah, I could do a program review for you quarterly if you wanted to present that information with the statistics and how the program's doing. And one thing we'll do, we'll work with Kathy. We do one of the important parts of the program also on the transportation end is determining the high risk routes. And that's done by, we have an analyst, a statistician that does statistical analysis. He's come up with a way and a proven method of looking at the routes and the traffic flow and all of that information and where the buses are stopping and everything. That in combination with local knowledge, that I'm sure that Kathy has drivers reporting every day, and you've got a very good idea of where they, but we won't stop there because it'll change. If it's doing what it should do, if its program's working, then the buses will have to be moved around periodically, or more cameras added. So that's something that we and that's my job. I work with these systems weekly. I'm here constantly evaluating the programs, looking at the numbers, making recommendations, and working together with the transportation directors to make sure that the high-risk routes are covered by camera.
Okay. Any further questions? Go ahead, Dr. Spangley.
Ballpark, what percentage of routes have bus cameras on them? Stop arm cameras? We're talking 10%, 50%?
Here, just in general, across the board. Let's see, there are over 1,000 buses in Cobb, I think, and we've got 102 cameras, about 10%. When we first started, that's probably one of the biggest mistakes we made. We put too many cameras. Not that there's too many cameras in Cobb. Cobb's a big, high volume, high population, a lot of traffic. But in some of the smaller school systems, I think we made a mistake and put too many cameras. And what we did learn is that it doesn't take a camera on every bus to do the job, And we've learned to start out small and grow methodically. Yeah. And because we can support the program better if there's an adequate amount of cameras, but not too many. So we'll continue. I mean, we want to put more cameras out here everywhere we go, but we want to be sure we do it the right way. And so how many buses are here?
I think we're gonna start out with 5.
How many buses?
140 route buses.
Okay. So, and I expect that to double.
Right. So if it's the same ratio, 10% would be about 14 or 15 on top end.
Yeah, and that's what I expect.
We had said anywhere from 5 to 25.
Okay.
Yeah. And that can vary by, by the geography of any given area. That typically dictates a lot of the activity, the type of roads, are they divided roads, are they undivided, the type of stops, and all.
Okay, any further questions?
Once installed, are they there permanently, or do you move these around, or is there a point of diminishing returns, or how does that work?
As far as the physical equipment goes, it can be moved. And that's something we work with the transportation departments with and the directors. We don't like to move the equipment, but sometimes we can't avoid moving it. If a bus is retired or there's other factors that affect it too. But hopefully we're choosing routes that are high risk routes. And what we like to see is we like to see the program work. Now, some areas have such high traffic volume that you might not ever see it drop very much because there's so many people. If there's a lot of out-of-town travelers coming through there too, then you've got that too. But sooner or later, enough people will get a ticket in the mail for $300 that maybe it'll have the impact in areas like that. But life expectancy of the equipment, I think I don't really know what that is. It's electronic, so, but we replace it if it tears up, and that's no problem. But typically, it's dependent on how long the bus is going to be in service, and if that route continues to be, that bus route continues to be a high risk route that bus is servicing.
Okay. Questions? Thank you
Great.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, and we have GSBA report. Just want you to know, Mr. Payne, your name was mentioned today at large district in a very positive light. So, just
Thank you.
about Clarke County, but you have your
Miss-
district report.
Miss Ellis, I always let the ladies go first. She was there. And was there anyone else that stayed for any of the speakers or attended any of the shots that we had? You were the only one?
I think I was the only one.
Okay, all right.
You want me to?
Yes.
I was pleased to have lunch with so many board members. That was a nice treat. I did not, this particular convention I didn't think was as strong as some of the other ones. I don't know why. I just didn't take away as much from it. And I forgot my notes, but I did take a couple things away that I thought are noteworthy. John Barge made a speech in a general session that I didn't get anything out of other than the fact that he is not going to be school superintendent, not going to run for state superintendent again. He's going to be running for governor. And he gave some very grim statistics about the status of public schools in the state of Georgia, which I think we're all very aware of. And hopefully whoever is elected can please put education first, because that's not the case now. I went to a mini session that I thought was pretty good. It was about pathways, and I saw I think it was the first time I ever saw it, and I apologize if y'all have shown it to us before, but it was kind of a road map for each pathway, and it had 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, what you want to take and where, and it was double-sided, glossy. That was a really great tool. I hope we're using them in our system. It was very apparent that a lot of other systems were not, based on comments that were coming out. They didn't have any idea what it was. It was nice to hear most everybody, well, I would say 50% of the people who were in the mini session with me were talking about how they are starting their career academies, and they're just starting their career academies, or they're writing their charter for their career academy. So it was really nice to know that we're several years ahead of people in that regard, and it was good to see that. I still think that whole thing is incredibly, the whole pathway is just so cumbersome and confusing. I do hope that we're simplifying it for our students.
Can I make a note, because we did have a presentation to the board on the career pathways, and we have a button on our website
Okay.
that is very clear. We've condensed it, comprised it to what it would look like.
Okay, good.
Just go pathways, right? It's a very hot button right on our website.
Because I thought that the DOE's website that they were directing us to, and then I thought it was so completely confusing. I couldn't even follow what it was.
Ours is very user friendly.
Good.
Thanks to Anissa, we put those all together, which pathways we offer.
Because it's complicated, and I'm educated, and I still got lost. So, and then the last note, we had I thought a very, they always close the sessions with a high energy speaker, and I do appreciate it. It's one of my favorite parts of the whole convention, and so it's a breakfast, and they have a high energy, motivational, educational speaker. And the gentleman who came, I cannot recall his name, I'm embarrassed to say, but he was an African American gentleman who seemed to work. It seemed to me that he did a kind of a school for troubled boys, and he had started a school for inner city troubled boys, is what I took from his. And he had lots of things to say about his life and dealing with these boys. But one thing that I loved that he said is he started a public service kind of a thing called Men in the Halls, and where he had men around the community, fathers or just men around the community, who volunteer on a weekly basis, and they are in the hallways, and especially at the high school level, to either just serve as an extra body as all these people are passing through, or just to, hey, you look nice today, or you look great today. And it was just, what he was talking about is the lack of just a man's presence in so many of our schools. It's such a female-dominated profession, and to hear men's voices, or just to see men in the halls, I just thought that was great. And I know, just from being in the schools, and just from personal experience, women are primarily the volunteers in the school. I don't know why, I don't know what, it's just always been that way. And so I thought that was an awesome idea for getting some male people into our buildings and getting the dads in there. And just sometimes, and he said it, I'm not trying to be gender specific, but sometimes I believe men, if we give you a specific task, you're more apt to do that than if we just beg you to come into our buildings. And so if we had kind of a specific program that you could sign up for.
Would that be like a directive? Like
I'm
a
just
to-do
thinking about
list?
the
Is
man
that
I'm
what
married
that's
to.
like?
I don't know about all
Okay.
y'all. But no, if I give, if you have a specific task, you tend to rise to that occasion a lot more easily than if it's just laid out to come into our buildings, And, he still did the background checks for these volunteers in the same way that you would any other way. And I just thought I loved that idea. And that was probably the greatest thing I took away. And I hope that if I had the energy to do that, I would. But I hope maybe somebody can
We've
out
actually
there
done
who can hear me will
We've
start
actually done that
this.
at Alps.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so
and I think at the high school level, it would be, just such, A, to get more adults in our buildings during class
Right,
changes,
yes.
and B,
great.
just positive male role models. It doesn't have to be, they don't have to be businessmen, they can just be regular
Yeah.
people,
Right.
just people who want to help. And I think that's a simple way anybody can do. Anybody can stand in the hallway and praise a child or keep an eyeball on a child,
It's a great idea.
I thank you for that, Miss Ellis. I'm
great idea.
very familiar with that program, and I think I still have some information on that. And I think that program actually started in Indianapolis, Indiana, Security Dads, and it was most successful at the high school level. I have boxes of materials. I may just try to.
Maybe you can start that program in Clarke.
But it works. It does.
It
yeah.
just seemed like it's a very simple way to
Yeah,
get
it's a
more
good
people involved in our buildings.
Yes.
We do, there's a group of men that do that.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's correct.
again, I don't think it's coordinated or publicized. And one of the fraternities, I believe, is Kappa's.
Yeah, they were at Clark Central the
And
other day.
so maybe it just needs to be massaged a little bit more because it is done. I know Reverend Mosley
Mosley's there,
had a group
Yeah.
that did that.
Washington's there.
So I just think, we probably need to build on it,
Valdez
because
has
these guys are
been
just doing it
tremendous
and,
there.
and there's no, we're not giving them that one little thing to do.
The
But you know
directive
what,
to
it would
sign
be
up.
really good to recognize them for that, because they don't do it for the recognition, they do it for the love of the kids. And so, yes, if we could endorse a program like that, I know that would delight the couple of people that I've talked to that spend their time in our schools.
I think that's all I've got.
Let me just say how happy I was to see my superintendent and board members
Wow.
at our annual conference. I was just delighted. You left so quick, I didn't get a chance to introduce you to none of my peers. I would have liked to have introduced you to some of the other people to let them know that I do have board members. They wonder about that sometimes. They don't ever see nobody to be. They say, are there any other board members?
Absolutely.
But y'all left so quick that I didn't get a chance to get you introduced. That was the largest conference that we held. There was more than 100 vendors there, and more than 700 attended the law seminar. More than 700. So it was a big conference, and I'm gonna bring you some NSBA news. For 40 years, Attorney Michael Resnick has led the NSBA legislative agenda on Capitol Hill. He visited the GSBA several times. He retired, and he's no longer on Capitol Hill, but he was on Capitol Hill about every day. FRN, Federal Relations Network, OVITA, that's what OVITA is going, but that has changed. It is the NSBA Advocate Institute, and Onita, you will be called a member network. We was FRN members, but you will be called a member network. State School Superintendent John Barks, I won't go into what she said, but he was able to bring me back to QBE. Many people don't realize how important that piece of legislation was if it had been funded and initiated. But Governor Joe Frank Harris, in his running for governor, he said that he was going to improve education in the state of Georgia. And one of the things that was done, he came to Clarke County and got our superintendent to be the state school superintendent. So Charles McDaniel was the chairman of QBE, and he had about 18 other individuals working on that piece of legislation. And I was talking to our president, and that was one of the things when he was working on his administrative degree over at the University of Georgia that he had to study, QBE. And a lot of people do not know, have not studied how beneficial and how that would have changed education in the state of Georgia, because it was a great piece of legislation that was never funded, and you cannot implement anything unless it's funded. So it was never totally funded, so it was never implemented. And this is one of the things about our national superintendent that Bush carried to Washington, D.C. NLLB was never totally funded, and as a result, he left because he initiated the program in Houston, Texas, and where he would take the test scores of groups, the African American, the white, the Mexican, and the other people, and that way. And when he got to Washington, he initiated that, and that's why we started doing that. But the other thing that she said that she didn't care too much about Dr. Boyd. One of the things that he brought back to my attention was the fact that I was on the board. I had been there for 6 years, and we went to Atlanta to witness the unveiling of QBE. And as those speakers spoke to us and the changes that were made in QBE, because APEG was not funded and it was never implemented. And one of the things that Joe Frank Harris wanted to do was to write a new act, and he did, QBE. And it was a good piece of legislation, but the legislators never funded it. And so it was never implemented, so we never did get the benefit. And it's not funded today. And it's not because of Democrats or Republicans. We need somebody, because the Democrats, when Governor Joe Frank Harris was a Democrat, and at that time the Democrat was leading, they did not fund it, and it was not initiated. Republicans have been there, and they have not funded it, and it's never been initiated. But that would have been a great piece of legislation, and Mr. Weather can tell you about that piece of legislation. It is good, and Dr. New, it's 90 pages, and it's complicated. It takes some time to read it and understand it. And Dr. George O'Kelly from the University of Georgia, he was president of the board at that time, and he got Joseph Martin. Joseph Martin was on that board, so Dr. O'Kelly got him to come down to the board 2 years running so that we would understand QBE. And I think all the board members in Clarke County knew how important it was. And we trusted McDaniel, because he was, Joe Frank Harris pulled him from Clarke County. He was the superintendent in Clarke County when Joe Frank Harris pulled him up there, and we knew his record. But as I said, and one of the things that we're coming up to another election, I would hope that someone would really get the word out to the parents that we need to elect someone that loves children and that will make education the #1 priority, because that has not been the case in Atlanta for a long time, and that needs to happen. And the only way it can happen is that we're going to have to elect the parents that they need someone that will make education the #1 priority. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Payne. I believe we're down to item F, action items, the minutes of previous meetings. We had 2. Trust that you have reviewed those minutes, and I'll entertain a motion for approval. Need a motion on that? Moved by Dr. Spangler. Got a second by Ms. Davis. Any questions pertaining to the minutes? Any questions? All in favor, show your right hands, please. Thank you very much. I think that passed unanimously. Okay, financial report.
Recommend approval of the financial reports for September and October.
Okay, financial report for September and October. I've reviewed them. Moved by Mr. Payne. Got a second from Ms. Davis. Any questions about the financial report? Any questions? All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you.
Next is policy JBCD, transfer and withdrawals, and that was some language change due to regulation changes. It's been in public view. I recommend adopting this policy.
Okay, a recommendation on policy JBCD, transfers of, and withdrawals. Need a motion for approval of this policy. Moved by Dr. Spangler. We have a second on that. Second by Ms. Ellis. Any questions about policy JBCD? Questions? All in favor? Okay, motion passed. Thank you.
Next, in a recommendation that the following regulation and policy be placed for public review for 4 weeks. Regulation regulation and policy JGRIG, Federal Family and Medical Leave Act.
Okay, this recommendation is to place them for public review as the regulations, as DO-R and policy GBRIG. Have a motion on that? Moved by Dr. Spangler. Okay, second by Ms. Ellis. Okay. Any questions pertaining to this regulation and also this policy? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Motion passed. Okay. Item 5.
Number 5, at this time of year, we have to set the January meeting dates to get us going, and after that, we'll do the calendar. So that would be to schedule for January of 2014. The work session would be Thursday, January 2nd, and the regular board meeting would be January 9th of 2014. So I ask approval of those dates for January.
And the time is 6 p.m.
Time is 6 p.m.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, moved by Mr. Payne. Got a second on that, second by Ms. Ellis. Any questions pertaining to item 5, setting the date and time for January work session and regular board meeting at 6 o'clock? Okay. All in favor? Thank you. Motion passed. Item 6.
6, recommend approval of the out-of-state and overnight field trips as presented.
Okay, out-of-state and overnight field trips. Have a motion on that? Have a motion on that? Moved by Mr. Payne, second by Ms. Davis. Any questions pertaining to that out-of-state field trips? Any questions? All in favor? Thank you very much. Motion passed. Item 7.
I know we see calendars every month, but we do. But this is,
right.
we're bringing this back because we got the final dates for UGA, which was a week different. It does have the right color scheme.
That was my ask.
And also, even though we typically have had Monday as a work day for Memorial Day, we moved that work day to Tuesday. So I ask that we ratify these revisions in this calendar for 2014.
Okay, recommendation from the superintendent on revise of 2014-2015 academic calendar. You said their colors are all in order.
I think so. I think we got it.
Okay. All right, need a motion on that. Moved by Dr. Spangler. Got a second from Mr. Huff. Any questions are pertaining to the revision of the academic calendar? Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. Motion passed. Item 8.
Item 8, and this is monies from our striving readers. You probably figured out that that was written in. They're giving us a lot of devices and technology, but that's written into the grant. So I'd ask approval for the purchase of computer equipment from Apple in the amount of $13,857 for Clarke Middle School, and those come from the FY14 Striving Readers Grant.
Okay, the recommendations from the superintendent on Strivers Readers computer equipment purchase for $13,857. You said for Clarke Middle School?
That would be correct.
Okay, I need a motion on that. Moved by Mr. Huff. Got a second on that? Second on that. Second from Ms. Williams. Any questions from this recommendation from the superintendent on the computer equipment purchase? Any questions? All in favor? Thank you very much. Motion passed. Item 9.
And next is to authorize me to apply for impact aid for the fiscal year ending in June 30th, 2014. This is handled by Mr. Hamill. To start that process, we do get some dollars for federal employees and military. Would that be correct? We do it annually, somewhere between $20,000 and $50,000, but I'd ask approval to submit that application.
Okay, authorization to file for impact aid. You said that's pertaining to federal dollars.
Federal employees.
Okay. We all understand the recommendation. I need a motion on that. Moved by Mr. Huff. Got a second on that, Mr. Payne. Any questions pertaining to this recommendation? Any questions? Okay, all in favor? very much. Motion passed. Item 10.
The following is a property purchase that went to the property committee and that was moved forward on a unanimous vote.
Yeah.
And this really helps us in the Clarke Central project. We've been under negotiations, and I think this is a win-win for all parties, and that would be to approve the purchase of the Mount Zion Holiness Church. It's .184 acres located at 243 Billop Street, Athens, Georgia, for the price of $75,000 as outlined in the attached purchase and sale agreement.
Okay, this recommendation from the superintendent on property purchase contract, that's Mount Zion Holiness Church, and at the price of $75,000. I got a motion from Mr. Payne. Got a second on that. Second from Ms. Parks. Any questions pertaining to this recommendation? Any questions?
Mr. President and to the board, let me say as property committee, I'm very pleased with how that Mr. Gilbert and his people from his office and the real estate company have handled that whole tract down there, the houses and this sale right here. I've had 3 of the individuals. One of them is a member of my church, and I've been on the board for 34 years. We have never had to condemn property and take it away from somebody. We've always been able to negotiate and come to a just settlement. And Mr. Gilbert, I appreciate your hard work and your dedication to make sure that those people were treated fairly and just.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Payne. Do you have any further comments or questions pertaining to this purchase? Okay, if not, all in favor? Thank you very much. Motion passed. Item 11.
And I'd ask for the approval of the surplus of school buses as outlined on that page. As if you didn't know, when they come off our lot, or when they are then used of parts, so there's probably not much left of what we're surplusing, I guess is what I'm saying. They don't get driven off the lot, but I'd ask that we surplus those buses on the list.
Okay, this recommendation from the superintendent on surplus school buses, fleet vehicles, from transportation. Okay, need a motion on that. Moved by Dr. Spangler. Got a second from Ms. Williams. Any questions about this recommendation, Mr. Payne?
Mr. Worthy and to our superintendent, and maybe someone can help me on this. I understand now that our purchase of buses come through the state. Is that right?
State contract pricing, yes.
So we have to abide by what they recommend. I mean, what I'm saying is that if we have one brand, we have 200 buses, that's one brand, and then the state recommend another brand, and you can't save the motors out of one because it changes. Is that right?
That would be true.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions pertaining to surplus school buses? All in favor? Thank you.
The next recommendation is probably something that we haven't typically seen because we're so used to something different, and that is scoreboards. Typically they say Pepsi or Coca-Cola. That's been the way that drill has gone for many years. In fact, I probably played high school, and I won't say when, and it said Coca-Cola or Pepsi. But that industry has changed dramatically, and so when we restructure these contracts, those scoreboards aren't part of them anymore, and then it becomes really difficult as you change contracts. I've even been in places where they've actually cut down a scoreboard and took it away overnight. So it really what schools are doing now is they're purchasing their own boards. We own them. Our scoreboards, our 3 scoreboards for both of our high schools are kind of well beyond its lifespan. You can't buy the electronics. We put money into maintenance. We've gone out to bid. So I'm going to recommend the purchase of scoreboards for Cedar Shoals and Clarke Central. That would be for softball, baseball, and football. And they would go to the lowest bidder. That would be Electromech Scoreboard Company, and the total cost with installation is $93,658, and that is out of operational. That's out of our general fund.
Okay, recommendation from the superintendent on high school scoreboards, Cedar and also Clarke, amount of $93,658. I need a motion on that. Moved by Mr. Payne. Got a second on that? Seconded by Dr. Spangler. Any questions pertaining to the purchase of these school boards? Go ahead, Ms. Payne.
Mr. Wood, I think this is the first time that we've had to purchase scoreboards. Because
Could
in
be.
the past,
I think it
the soft drink companies have purchased them, and we have not had to do that. But I just tell you about times have changed.
And also the new policy on.
We remember, we don't do soda,
Oh, yeah,
products
that's right.
in our
That's
schools,
right.
so
That's
the
right.
industry's changed.
So the sales are down from
Yeah.
Coca-Cola. Okay. Any further questions? Any further questions?
Oh, I have one.
Go ahead,
So sorry.
Ms. Evans.
But we are selling the sponsorships on the boards, correct? I mean, there are 4 spots on each
would
board
be
for
at each
sponsorships.
schools.
What's the information on that?
Not sure, yes, they are.
Yeah, that would be local schools.
The school will
school,
just, the
yeah.
booster clubs or whatnot will sell those
That's correct.
spaces?
That's
And the
correct.
money will go back into the school?
That's correct.
And they still have the machines there, but they're not selling soft drinks, they're selling water.
Yeah.
70%.
No, we're buying the boards, and then they
That's
Yeah.
good, that's good. That's good. That's good.
make the decisions around the boards.
Just like they sell the things that go out in the outfield in the
Yeah,
baseball
typically they
stadium.
Yeah, like
sell
the banners.
The press
plywoods,
box.
banners. I think that has spaces that looks like 4 or 5 of them they can sell on the board itself.
Okay. All righty, all in favor? Okay, motion passed, okay.
If you recall, we did what I call kind of an emergency, authorized payment to remove chemicals from our schools. This actually enters into a long term if we need to remove hazardous material or any chemicals we don't want in our schools. This went out to bid, and we've got pricing, so now we can call under a listing that's approved by the board. So I'd ask that we approve the disposal of hazardous waste service contract to MKC Enterprises. It's for the term of 24 months, beginning December 13th, 2013, in accordance with OCGA 20-2-506. And the contract can be terminated at the end of the calendar year if we so wish for performance.
Okay, this recommendation on disposal of hazardous waste service contract with MKC Enterprise, and that's starting tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay. Moved by Mr. Payne, got a second from Ms. Davis. Any questions about this recommendation? Go ahead, Ms. Payne.
My question is for our attorney, and I understand that this contract, and I read the contract, but are there any provision in the contract, and if they're not used, is there a reduction in this price?
We're not paying.
You pay
It's
for it.
pay as you go.
Oh, okay, all right.
That's right. They just give it, if we call it, it gives a price how much it's gonna
Okay,
cost,
that's
take it
good.
away.
That's what I
Thank
want to
you.
know.
Yeah,
I
good
didn't
question.
understand
Good
that.
question.
I just saw the total
Yeah.
price in my iPad, and
Yeah.
I just.
Nope, you're right.
Okay. Any further questions? All in favor? Okay, motion passed, thank you. Okay.
The next, every year at this time, we go out to RFP for legal services. There were 2 responses to that. I recommend the approval of the appointee of the firm of Hall Booth Smith with Michael C. Pruitt, partner, having primary responsible as the board attorney for the calendar year 2014 at the offered rate of $150 per hour.
Okay, recommendation from the superintendent for legal services for 2014, that's Hall, Booth, Smith, and Slover. And Michael Pruitt is the partner for $150 per hour. Okay, I need a motion on that. Need a motion. Moved by Mr. Huff. Got a second on that? Seconded by Ms. Ellis. Any questions pertaining to this recommendation? Go ahead, Ms. Thornton.
I don't have a question. Last year around this time, actually I thought it was January, I had some concerns, and it's my fault because I didn't follow up with those concerns. And now I'm at a crossroad again. I'm more confused now than I was last year. But in essence, one of the things that the vice president said is that we're going to be able to give a list of things that we want to discuss at working sessions. So I'm going to support this tonight, but this will be one of the things that I will be sending as a discussion item. And I won't go through a whole year not bringing up. And my concerns are probably very simple and nothing personal or nothing negative, but I just need some clarity. And the more I talk to other board members, the more confused. Maybe everybody else understands what's going on, but I don't. And I'm going to support it again because I did not do my my due diligence and follow up from last year. But this will be one of my items that I will be sending for discussion.
Thank you. Any further questions pertaining to this recommendation? Any further questions? All in favor, show your right hand, please. Okay, all righty, that's all.
I'll abstain.
Okay, one abstention now from Mr. Sparks, okay. All righty.
All right. The next is an intent to apply for a grant. As you know, we have to ask for board approval to apply. I'm very excited about this one. We met with Athens Tech, and they are putting together truly a whole new program with emerging technologies. It deals with drone technology, which is a very large industry that's growing, to cloud technology. And we have an opportunity that fits right in with the work we've been doing with the Career Academy to apply for up to $7 million. We're very excited. We've contracted out, someone's already mapped out. It's this real incredible program looking through different industries through the lens of technology. So I'm asking that we approve us to go forward and complete this grant application for up to $7 million.
Okay, the recommendation from the superintendent to intent to apply for U.S. Department of Labor Youth Career Grant, and it goes up from $2 million to $7 million. Okay, I need a motion on that. Moved by Mr. Payne. Got a second from Mr. Huff. Any questions? Go ahead, Ms. Ellis.
I don't have a question, sorry.
I'm sorry. Any questions? Go ahead, Mr. Payne.
Well, you know, and the superintendent understand, and all the board members understand how passionate I am about grants. I mean, I just believe you need to be writing grants every day, you know, and
You can get
and I'm very hurt that we don't have a grant writer now.
We do.
We do.
We do.
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
James
One
Bartleman.
Oh, well, that slipped by me.
We did have one for a while. It took us a while to get one, but yes, we.
Tell me those things. So you know,
submitted 5 grants today.
yeah. Well, I'm
5 grants today.
You know, I'm passionate about the grant writer.
We were in Savannah when they voted the
grant
writer on.
Okay,
There you go.
all right.
There you go. See, there's a reason.
You're out. You're out.
Your mind's still there. You just weren't here.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions pertaining to the intent to apply for this grant? Any further questions? All in favor? Show the right hands, please. I think that's a unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Okay, we down to executive session.
I recommend that we have a executive session for acquisition, disposal, leasing, or appraisal of real estate, appointment of employment, compensation, hiring, dismissal, or evaluation of employees, or any pending litigation claims or administrative proceedings.
Also, 2 others in that superintendent's contract.
Yeah, this one will be employment, superintendent's. I'm putting it all. I think I'm in. All right, let's begin. This is about the superintendent's evaluation. How's that?
Okay, I need a motion to go into executive session. Moved by Mr. Huff. We got a second from Mr. Payne. All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay.